working for Energizer. And then in New York, working for a small company, Nest, which is a luxury candle company. Now she's working for Whole Foods, part of Amazon. So I'll give this presentation to Kathleen. Thank you.
Okay. Hi, everyone. I'm so thankful and grateful to be here to be able to share about my current career and job. I feel like growing up, it wasn't one that I knew was out there, so I'm happy to be able to talk to you about it today. So we'll just jump in. If you have any questions, feel free to just drop them in the chat and we can review it after my presentation. So a little bit about my current job. So I'm currently a category merchant over beauty and aromatherapy at Whole Foods Market. So what does that mean? So when you are in your local grocery store, or if you just see products on shelves, do you ever ask the question how it got there? So that is my job. So I review products and then bring them onto the shelves at the store. So my responsibilities include what we call assortment decisions. So really deciding what goes on shelf, what comes off of shelf. We also do some promotional planning. So when you see sales in store, that's what we coordinate with our brands. And then we have certain financial targets that we need to hit. And so there's weekly reporting that's done. And then we try to hit those targets by either bringing in certain products or promoting heavily during certain periods. In terms of my day-to-day, it does vary quite a bit. Currently, we are in a hybrid model. Ever since COVID, we were work from home. And then I think since about April, we've flexed into 50% in person and 50% work from home. Like I mentioned before, the day-to-day is very different, but what remains consistent is that every Monday, I'm responsible for a weekly business review. So that's diving into sales data, addressing some of either the wins or the losses in terms of our sales year over year and our margin year over year. And then every day I'm working on email, responding to some of our brands and suppliers, either working through questions or some launch plans. And then a lot of tasks are around product launch. So we work about, I think it's about 8 months out. And so there's a task list of everything that needs to happen for us to launch on time. And so I'm working against that task list every week. And then I also mentioned we are promotional planning. So that's, again, working with suppliers, lining up promotions every year to make sure we have a robust plan to help us meet our year-over-year sales goals. And then finally, because I am working at a grocery retailer, we do get specific questions from stores around some of our sales, some of our products. And so part of the time it's responding to the stores and our operations teams that bring questions back to us.
Hey,
and then in terms of, yeah.
Kathleen, there's one question. Morgan asked, is this the first time you do this?
Yes, well, this is my first time as a category merchant. I was previously an assistant category merchant for our private label brand, 365 and Whole Foods Market. And then I moved over as an assistant category merchant for the beauty team about a year and a half ago.
Yeah, thank you.
Yep. And then in terms of who I work most closely with, it's my assistant category merchant on the desk on beauty. And then we also have inventory planners. So they help us make sure that we have enough products on shelves and help us get our products from the distribution center to the shelves, especially during our promotional times. It's really important that we forecast and have enough product on shelves to really maintain throughout the sales period. And then I work very closely with our other category merchants. So first, as a new category merchant, I'm constantly learning and also leaning upon our more senior merchants who are more senior and definitely have more experience in navigating conversations with suppliers, but also have more experience with promotional planning and all of the above. So it's really a team collaborative effort to learn and get up to speed for this role.
Yeah. So do you have to worry about the supply chain issue?
You do. I dealt more with it when I was on the exclusive brands team, but the private label team. But right now, yes, we do still face out of stock issues because brands can't get enough product to be able to produce. And so we have to navigate those out of stocks, either with store communications, letting them know that they should put other product in this place, letting them know that there's a potential out of stock. So it is something we continue to face that started in COVID, but continues on now.
Good, thank you.
Okay. And then also in terms of the software and hardware that we use, I'm mostly in Excel a lot. And then also something called Tableau, which runs all of our sales data. So I'm pulling reports from Tableau and then also utilizing Excel a lot. And then, like I mentioned, emails I get lots and lots of emails. So that's a big portion of my job as well. All right, I'll move into the next little section. So I want to take a moment to just talk about what I find the most enjoyable or what might be challenging about my job. So like the title says, there are peaks and valleys. And so what I want to talk about first are just the great joys and what I really love about my job. First is meeting with small founder-led companies. So I just get really energized and excited to meet entrepreneurs that really are courageous and step out and have passion for a product or their brand and just launch it. And they always come to us and try to get space in the store. And I just love hearing about their story, their mission, and just how they got started. I also find really great joy when we're able to successfully launch a product on shelf. It takes a lot of time to get, and it takes a lot of time, and sometimes there's some hurdles to get a product to shelf. So once you're able to see it in store, that's really a proud moment for me and also for the brand. And then just connecting with suppliers. I think there's a lot of process that's in place, but having time to just connect with suppliers brings it more to life. Again, adds the human touch to the work that I'm doing. And then in terms of challenges, with any job, the process can be difficult at times. And so that's one of the challenges is making sure that I'm following process, making sure I'm hitting timelines to be able to launch a product on time. And then in the category merchant role, I'm always speaking with suppliers. And sometimes there are difficult conversations where we either need to pull a product out, discontinue a product, or there might be difficult conversations in terms of a brand not performing to expectations. So having to navigate those is the part that I don't like as much. I love having the conversations of awarding business and how we can grow the business. But when there's the discontinuations are just difficult conversations are always the hardest part of the everyday role.
So how do you handle it?
That's a good question. I have to take a moment, and sometimes I really do rely and ask for some input from our more senior category merchants. And we also have someone on our team that is solely focused on negotiations, so they can help me guide the conversation as well. It's getting a lot of input. And I think just trying to be the way I like to approach it is just trying to go in with a win-win mindset, but also with a kind heart and approach. Like I don't want to strong arm anybody, and I want them to know that I care about their business. So that's how I can go about it and feel good about the conversation that I'm having.
All right, thank you.
Okay. So the next slide, how to succeed in this role. So I put the first bullet point that success is a fluid definition. And I say that because growing up, I think I thought success meant I needed to be the president of the company, that I needed to work to become the CEO. And with my age, I'm realizing that success can have very different meanings for different people. So for me, success now means, do I find enjoyment and fulfillment in the work that I'm doing? And I can say yes, because I enjoy what I'm doing, because there's such great alignment for the Whole Foods Market's mission of nourishing people and the planet, and also what I'm doing. Like I love being able to bring brands into the store that are bringing sustainable products that are helping the environment. That's become sort of a passion of mine working at Whole Foods Market. I've become more aware of my impact and footprint on the world. And then in terms of just being able to navigate an ever-changing process, I feel like that's a necessary skill to have in this role. But what I also love is that I'm constantly learning because things are constantly changing. I'm having to learn and evolve, which I like because I think I would get bored in a situation that's very stale, and not changing as much. But what keeps me excited is I know that I'm not where I want to be yet because I'm still very new in my role, but I'm growing in my confidence and working to become the expert, which gets me excited. And in the end, I have a really strong interest in the beauty category, from skincare to hair care. Just I think having that own personal attachment to the category itself gets me excited every time I learn about new product trends and can share that with others. And then the final bullet point is just the financial acumen. I think I've always liked numbers. Maybe I haven't always been as good with them, but I think in my role, because I have to report on business sales numbers, I'm pushed to have that financial acumen. Okay, and so I think there's always the question of what do I need to do to be able to get a job like this? And the great news about my current role is that there's no exact path. I think in some cases it's always you need to have a 4-year degree to be able to be in this role, but at Whole Foods that's not really the focus. It's a college degree or equivalent experience. And several people that I work with have come up from the store level, so they've worked in the store, started as just a team member and then worked to be an assistant manager, a team leader, and then worked their way into our headquarters positions. So I think the common denominator really is this desire to work in a cross-functional environment. So not just working within your own team, but having to coordinate with somebody like inventory planning, with our marketing team. I think that's what gets people excited is being able to work with all different people and all different teams. And then I'll just jump to the next slide. So what's next for me in my career path? So I'm only been in my current role for about 6 months now. So I think it's too soon to really know what I'm going to jump to, but the opportunities are for a senior category merchant role. So that'd be the next step in my current role, or there's always lateral moves across the company to anything else. And I didn't mention, which I'm sorry, I forgot at the beginning, I have a marketing background. So I spent 7 years in marketing and then pivoted to this buying role. So there's always the opportunity for me to return to marketing if that's something I desire, or also return to working for a brand versus working at the retailer. And really, I think what I again learned with time and age is that there are so many options. Like I don't need to really pigeonhole myself in saying like, this is what I'm going to do for the next 10, 15 years. This is the job that I really enjoy doing now and want to continue to work to get better in my role for now. And that keeps me interested and excited each day I go to work. And then this is my final slide that I just wanted to share, kind of just things I wish maybe I knew as a high school student. The first thing is that success can be a moving goalpost. So what does that mean? Means that I think you can always set your goal. And then once you achieve it, if you continue saying, well, this is the next step I want, you're always chasing and chasing and chasing. And for me, that left a sense of dissatisfaction. Like once I'm in this place, I'm always trying to get to the next and to the next. And for me now, it's finding enjoyment in the current role I'm in, seeing how I can do it better, learn more. It's not always about I need to make it to this next manager position. It's how can I do my job the best that it is? And if that next step is a management position, that'll come. But for me, it's just enjoying and really making the most out of my current role. And the second bullet point, taking 1 step or 5 steps back is okay. And that's something I've done in my current career. So when we moved to Austin, I knew I wanted to work at Whole Foods Market. We lived across the street from the headquarters of Whole Foods. And I remember telling my husband, like, I want to go work at Whole Foods. And so I would comb the website for job postings every single day, and nothing would pop up for marketing. And then one day I saw an intern position for marketing. and I just took it. It felt like I was taking 20 steps back because I had 7 years of experience, but at that point, that's the foot in the door I needed. So I did get that position. I think it was perhaps maybe at times I felt like I was overqualified, but it was the step I needed backwards to be able to get in. And it really led me to this job that I love now. So that's just my encouragement, that don't feel discouraged if you need to take a step back to be able to gain advancement later on. I think it's a very natural process in your career. And then the final one is just ask questions, ask a lot of questions in your journey of other jobs if they're interesting to you. Again, don't feel like you have to stay down this path if you're already down it. There's always new ways to learn and new opportunities and different jobs that are popping up all the time. So ask if you're curious. And then for me, it was really hard to do the networking. That was always a dreaded term for me, because I didn't like having to go and try to network for certain positions. But I think what changed the sort of networking for me is just like going with an actual desire to just learn more about something that's important to me. So wanting to go and to learn more about a career that's important to me, or just a role that's important to me, I think made it easier to get into those networking settings to meet new people and start those conversations. So Ning, that's actually all I have.
All right. Those are very, very good. Excellent recommendations and advices. We can open up for any of the participants. If you have any question, please post them in the chat room, or you can just open up and your mic and speak up. So Kathleen,
Yes.
since we don't have, let me ask you a few questions.
Yes.
Obviously, you grew up in a Christian family.
Yes.
And you yourself are a active Christian faith practitioner.
Mm-hmm.
How do you think your Christian faith helped you in your career, or even in your high school and college days? Is there any influence?
Yeah, I definitely think there is. I think there's a sort of, I think there's always a drive to want to get to the next step or to achieve something. But I think having faith and knowing that God is guiding my journey gives me peace of mind when I'm not going the exact way that I want to go in my career, or even in certain situations at work. Like, I'm able to just take a moment, trust that God is working and that I'm doing my best. I think that's been the peace and calm that's been able to help me along this journey.
So it helps you to reduce your anxiety, and is that what you are referring to?
Yeah, I think it's a lot of giving up the control. I think there's a natural desire to control the things in my life that are from work to anything, even at home and in family, and having that faith and trust and knowing that God is greater than anything I can do gives me the sort of confidence and peace to navigate and trust that He's working, and it's not about my timing, but His timing, where everything will be figured out and happen.
Okay.
Yeah.
Excellent. So now many of the participants here are middle school, high school.
Yes.
And
Good for you. Yes, for doing this early.
Yeah. So for you, think back, right? When you were in middle school and high school, and you were thinking about, what major to study and how you want your future career path to be, comparing with, well, now you have a few years of experience under you.
Yeah.
If you can come from your high school thinking of career to your nowadays thinking of a career, how has it changed, or if anything has changed?
Oh, it's changed completely. I would say as a high schooler or even middle schooler, I was very narrow-minded. I think it was, I have to go down a business pathway. I have to do marketing because, well, I don't like science, so I can't do medical. And so I think I was very closed off. And with that, I think it made my focus so laser focused on marketing that I think I probably missed other opportunities. Like, I think I could have started something like a merchant or retail career sooner, because I think it really matches with my personality and what I like to do. So yeah, the biggest change has been being more open now to different career paths and learning new things. I think in as a child or as a teenager, I wanted to decide because everybody else was deciding what they were going to do, and so I wanted to decide then too. And I think that was a little more narrow-minded than I am now.
All right. So now, speaking for those middle school, high schoolers' parents, right? When
Yes.
you grew up
Yes.
and when you were in high school, middle school, have your parents influenced you or pressured you into your career choice? If there's any, how? If there's not any, how do you see that?
I think, that's a really good question. It's been a very long time. Honestly, I don't think my parents pressured me into the career path I wanted. They definitely encouraged me to think through and decide what I wanted to do. I think my dad always saw that there was some sort of business mind for me that would make sense. And so I think he encouraged that. He didn't necessarily push me that hard to do it. So I think that's something that I can say. I think I'm also thinking through it as a parent now myself. How am I going to approach this with my daughter? And I think it's less of a question of what do you want to do when you grow up now, but what do you like doing? What do you like doing now? Because I don't want to have something placed in her mind now that she thinks she cannot deviate from later on.
Okay. Okay. So myself, I
Yeah.
have two sons.
Yes.
One is the 11th grader.
Yes.
One is a ninth grader, right?
Yes.
So they are especially my older one, are preparing to get into the college.
Yep.
So when you are thinking about your college days, and I see my children experiencing the high school and college days, I see tremendous amount of internal pressure
Yes.
among their friends,
Yes.
right? They're
Yes.
constantly comparing with each other,
Yes.
constantly try to go to a better school and so on and so forth, right? When you were there, can you give them high schoolers some advice? How do they handle this kind of pressure and internal competition that they have among friends?
Yeah. Oh, that's a great question. And as you talk about the pressure of high school days, I can almost feel it. Like I remember feeling the pressure to get the good SAT scores, to get the highest GPA, to be the highest rank that I could. What is my advice? I think my advice is to, again, like, think longer term. I think you feel the pressure now to be the best and compare. At the end of the day, like in my current role, I'm sitting next to people that didn't necessarily complete a 4-year degree, that weren't the top of their class. So I know it's hard to say this when you're in the moment, but don't push yourself. Like, it doesn't need to be that. It's not that important to be the number one right now. I think what's most important is that you try your best, you try your hardest in everything that you do, and that becomes I did my best, and that's all I can ask for. It's really hard to say, like, not to put your pressure on yourself and not to compare yourself to friends, but that is what I would say. I think it's you focus on your own game, you focus on being the best that you can be, and that's where you have to stop, because the comparison game will always be there. There will always be somebody ahead of you, there will always be someone behind you. But knowing that you are achieving everything you can with the skill sets you've been given, what I would say is winning and really achieving.
Okay. So when you go from high school to college, or which college did you go to?
I went to Washington University in St. Louis.
Okay.
So I left home.
Yeah, that's St. Louis. That's still not too far away, but
Not too
still
far.
that's
Yeah.
very difficult for you to get to home every.
Yes. Yeah, that did not happen.
Yeah. So how do you compare your experience in high school and in college?
Oh, vastly different. In high school, I felt a tremendous amount of pressure on myself to do well. And just like the studying was really self-driven, but I felt a lot of pressure to do well. In college, I think I felt less pressure, which might have been very different from some of my my college friends who felt maybe more pressure in some of the majors that they chose. But I honestly don't know what really changed. I think it was I felt like I had made it to college, and then it wasn't so much about the grades anymore. It wasn't so much about being on top of your class. It was just taking the courses that I needed to be able to get my degree. And so I think that was the big shift. And I had conquered the SAT at that point, which was like the biggest challenge and biggest pressure for me.
Okay. I don't want to dominate the question. So any of the
Does anybody have questions? Yeah,
Yeah.
throw something in the chat. I would love to see your questions. I talked a lot. I'm sure there's something you want to ask about. If there's any questions about marketing, I'm happy to answer some questions about my previous roles as well. Don't be shy. Feel free to come off mute as well.
You can, if you don't want to type, just
Yeah.
open your mic.
Yes, please.
Okay. So let me keep on asking you a question.
Yeah.
You have a very interesting past. I know nothing about marketing.
Yeah.
I was in the technology field in similar to what your dad, but in a different industry. I was also managing the research and development of a major international multinational corporation for many years. But now I'm in a totally different industry, in finance.
Okay.
Yeah, in financing, tied more directly into economics, right? But I do not know anything about marketing. So from your experience, now you see, you said you have defined the success a little different now, since you are into the career for a number of years. What do you think are the most important things that prepared you for what you are today? That when you were in, from your family perspective, school perspective, what helped you the most?
I think what has helped me to get where I am is truly the experience and the confidence. I think looking back, I was a very, I think maybe perhaps shy, more introverted. And I think I was missing some of the confidence in my own voice. And I think that happened through college and into some of my career, where I gained a little bit more experience and was able to feel like I could speak my mind in a room. And so I think that has really helped me progress and to be able to get into the current role that I am, where I do have to speak with a lot of external suppliers and brands, but also have to be able to speak on large meetings and calls. So I think that's one of the big things, is just experience and time and being able to feel confident in speaking. But I'd say also, like, my dad and my mom really encouraged me too, like in anything that I was doing. We always celebrated different wins. And then I think in terms of schooling, it was different courses that I took. So honestly, I don't remember many of the classes I took in college, but I remember my retail professor was excellent. And when I was in that retail class, I should have known then that I loved retail, because it was so dynamic and really engaging. And I loved every minute.
Wonderful, wonderful. And so from you, right, you mentioned your parents' encouragement, and you mentioned that confidence is really important to you, right? So if you can give some advice to the parents who are listening, that have their children listening with their children together, what advice would you give to those parents who have children that are in middle school, high school?
Oh man, there's so much. I think it goes along also with growing up Asian American, and I think a lot of the perhaps stereotypes or what you see in media, where Asians are very quiet, reserved, and sat in the background. I think that's changing a lot. But I think what I'm trying to do is encourage my daughter to, again, use her voice more, to be confident in the voice that she's using, and knowing that what she says matters. I think it changes a lot. And it's important to start now as a kid, so it helps you as you grow up. That would be the most important thing.
Yeah, that's actually a very good one. That because I'm doing that to my kids as well.
Yes.
That I keep on telling my son that once my kids get into high school, I'm telling them that hey, we mom and dad are here to advise you, to give you recommendations. You agree or disagree with us, we want you to have your own opinion.
Yes, I think that's great.
Yeah, so even you agree with us but you want to choose a different path, as long as you have a good reasoning, we will support you, right? So me as a parent, I'm hearing others like yourself. That's why we are trying to practice every day. But Asian parents are sometimes a little bit too dominant.
Yeah, I could see that. Yes, yes, yep,
So
yep.
okay.
I love that. That's great.
Okay, good. Angela is asking, is SAT still a requirement now? I heard most schools don't require SAT anymore. Do you
I
know?
don't know that answer. I am very far removed. Does anybody else know the answer to that?
Okay. My kids are in the SAT age. Surprisingly, both my kids have taken SAT already. That SAT is no longer a requirement for some school, especially University of California. They don't require it anymore, but you may have heard that some schools are actually changing their practicing again. For instance, MIT took away the requirement a few years ago, but now they reinstated as a requirement recently this year. The reason is that they have found out that people without SAT got into there, they couldn't handle the college level course because MIT is one of the schools require every incoming freshman have 2 semesters of calculus. Many of the students who don't take SAT or ACT flunk the class, so they can no longer graduate from MIT. So they reinstated the SAT requirement. So there is a debate, active debate going on right now. So I'm into it because my kids are preparing them. So I know that answer to that. It's active debate in the school and in the entire school system right now.
I see. So it's ever evolving.
It's a very, very much evolving. The pandemic had a lot to do with it.
Yes.
The quality of the students and school specific requirement had a lot to do with it. Diversity requirement had a lot to do with it. So all of those things play a role in the decision.
Okay.
Okay. So now question for you. Now you obviously have young kids.
Yes.
Yeah, so congratulations. They are
Thank you.
adorable. I still remember that those days. Those are truly blessed time, and I still treasure the memories.
Yes.
Now since you are a mom, and now you still are, I call early in your career, right? So you have less than 10 years into your career.
Yep.
Now looking at from the high school kids, and they are trying to start getting into college and then career. How do you see the importance of career life balance? Did you even think about it when you were in high school, and how your thoughts changed through age and career paths?
That's a great question. It was not on my mind at all in high school, college. I don't even think it really mattered to me. I always talked about work-life balance once I was in the career setting, but it didn't quite really kick in until or prioritized until I started having children. And work-life balance is the number one goal at this point, because in a life where you want to be able to be a really great mom and take care of your kids, but also have a successful career, something's going to have to give. And it's always prioritization of one thing or this thing. So work-life balance is important and key for me. And I think Whole Foods Market tries its very best to do so. There are some days where I still need to work a little bit more, where I need to log on after I put my kids to sleep. But yeah, it's important to me. If my job did not have work-life balance, it would be a very short-lived job, I think.
Okay. Now, my internet have little stability issues. Okay.
That's okay.
You are out of college. Okay. When you are looking for even doing your internship, your very beginning of your career to start, is money, how much a job pays, your most important criteria in a job? What are the criteria you consider the most important, like top three? What's your top three criteria when you first enter a career?
I don't know if this is an accurate representation, because when I entered the workforce, it was right around 2009 where everyone was stopping hiring. And so really for me, it was, I will take any job that will hire me full time. But what was important when I was looking at the job was first, it was the pay. I was trying to make as much money as I could. Again, that was me being very young and just having that goal of, I need to make a lot of money. That's what people say you're supposed to do if you go to a college. You need to go graduate and go get a really well-paying job, and then you can feel like you achieved something. I don't think that's true anymore, and I think it's a naive goal. But that was one of my goals, was making sure the salary was enough and making sure it was a marketing job that I knew would help me advance in my career.
Okay. So now you have met many people from all different backgrounds than yourself, right? You went to Washington University, one of the private school that is a very prestigious school in the U.S. Now you are meeting people from all different colleges, even some of them went to different, didn't go to college, right? How do you think various of career paths, private college versus public college versus no college or trade school, how do you compare, or have you, thought about the people you met? Do you see any difference?
I don't see any difference, honestly. And so as we're thinking through like how we want to approach, it's very early on for our own kids. My husband and I are very open. I don't think even colleges, we're not even going to necessarily push college, I don't think, because I think now I see, like, I'm working again with people that have so many diverse backgrounds that didn't necessarily go to the four-year college. I think there's a lot of talent that can be used in different ways. And if it doesn't necessarily need to be that you go through college to nurture those talents to be able to get to the career you want, I think there's a lot of different pathways now. Okay.
So you really don't feel that a prestigious private university is the, I guess, a fast track path to career success?
Absolutely not. I will say that. Yeah, I don't think going to the most prestigious college guarantees you have the best job. I just don't think so. I think it really comes down to the person, because somebody without any college degree, I think, could excel as well or even better in a specific career if they have that skill set.
Okay. Now, so in those, did you go to public high school or private school?
Public. I went to a public high school.
So Plano West?
East. I went to Plano East.
Oh, Plano East. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Okay. So for those of you who don't live in Plano, Texas, so I happen to live in Plano, Texas. And I know, Brother Ming, your father's home is actually very close to where I live right now.
Yes.
So yeah, so my kids go to Plano West.
Okay.
Both are public school. Nevertheless, they are very good schools.
They are very good schools.
Okay. So now you are being a mother yourself, right? You said you don't think the private college really make that difference to the career.
What I will say is, I'm not pushing a private college. I'm pushing my daughter to get out of Austin. I think being in a different environment around people you didn't necessarily grow up with was something that was really important, and having that diversity of background in college. It wasn't necessarily that it was a private institution. It was that people from all different parts of the country, from the world, were coming to this school, and being exposed to that was one of the most important things.
Okay, very interesting. So you encourage, you think you will encourage your daughter to go outside the immediate environment that you guys are living in and
Yes.
explore.
Out of Texas is what I would say. Yes.
All right. Okay, that's very interesting. Okay, for those high schooler, right? So they are getting ready to choose a major, choose a school. What other advice do you have?
I think just do your research, be really open, take opportunities wherever you have them to be able to talk to people that are in different careers. I think something I've always enjoyed is just talking to older people that are doing things that I don't even know about and asking questions about them. I think having a curiosity for a lot of things can keep you open-minded as you approach this time in your life. Again, I think if you make a decision about a major, I would encourage you to have the flexibility in mind to know that you can pivot and change, like you're not on a hard set path. I think there are the options and sort of avenues are still open to explore.
Okay. So you really like the retail, you really like the marketing.
Yeah.
Can you describe to the audience you have right now, right? What you think draw you from your personality perspective, from your thinking perspective? What really attracted you to retail and the marketing, and what kind of people you think would be suited for this particular career path that you have chosen?
Yeah.
I want to give you encouragement.
Yeah. So for marketing, it was really around, I knew I wanted to be in business, and I really loved the creative side of branding, and also thinking through sort of different business strategies. So marketing was really where I knew I wanted to be because of that sort of the creative mindset. So creativity plus sort of numbers. And then I think in retail, I loved shopping personally. And so going sort of the other way of how does this product get on shelf? Who chose this shirt to be in this store was something that I loved thinking through. And so now in this role, it's really fun to be able to see new products. I love new products. I love seeing new packaging come out. So in my role now, I get to see a lot of new trends. I get to see a lot of new products. And so that really matches with how I am personally, like as a early adopter to different products and brands. That's what I like doing on my free time. Walking around the grocery store and seeing what's new is now my job now. So it translated very quickly. So that's my encouragement. Find what you like to do. There's definitely a career path involved somewhere in your honest passions.
Okay. So obviously you deal a lot with merchants, dealing with sales, dealing with customers, and interpersonal communication is critical to your success, right? Mm-hmm. How did you prepare to be persuasive and to be a better communicator?
Oh, that takes a lot of work. I will be very honest. There were several sort of sessions or learning times that I've had in different companies where the company has invested in somebody coming in to teach you how to effectively communicate, how to effectively negotiate. And so with those sort of training sessions or full day immersions, like I've been able to pick little tidbits out that help me with effective listening, effective communication, and still working on the negotiation portion.
Okay. So that you also learned negotiation strategies through training as well?
Yes. And I think also, I don't do this as much, but I try to just reading the news and being up to date on what's happening, just outside of the social media world, like reading a newspaper or reading online of what's happening in the world has also helped to keep me grounded in understanding like just what's happening around me.
Okay. So are your kids in the talking age now?
Yes, my 4-year-old is. She's in a Chinese immersion school right now, so she's learning Chinese.
All right. So did you apply your negotiation skill with her?
All the time to get her to take a bath, to get her to just wake up. Yes, there is negotiation, bribery, a little bit of both.
All right. All right. Okay, so we still have a few minutes left. I really want to see that if anybody else have question you want to ask, even parents, and you are listening, and if you have any question you want to ask Kathleen. Okay, so okay, let me pop a couple more to you,
Okay.
right? So in your college days, or well, once you left the home, obviously home, you know, your parents are active participant in the churches and the various ministries. When you leave home, did you still actively engaged in your spiritual life, and did that help you any in your career path?
Yeah, so when I went to college, my sister had actually gone to the same university and had graduated right before I joined. So I was aware there was a Christian fellowship that was on campus. And so when I went, it was really important to me that I didn't want to sort of lose my faith or the practice of being in fellowship with other believers. And so I joined that fellowship pretty immediately as soon as I landed on campus. And so I think that was one of the moments where faith became my own journey, not just because my parents were going to church and I went to church. It was really more me delving into what does my relationship with Jesus look like, and how do I do this on my own without my parents going on Sundays and me going with them. So it was, I think, an important time in my life to sort of figure it out for myself as well.
Okay, okay. And so you talked about networking, and talked about, you know, meeting new people and so on and so forth. So right now, how do you do you still have time to do any networking? And if you do, how do you do it?
I don't have that much time to do networking. I'm going to be very honest. I think at work, I'm open to sort of different connections and people that want to learn about the certain career I have at Whole Foods. So that's about the amount of networking that I do. Is I chat with other people in the company that are interested in sort of the path that I'm on.
Okay. When you first get into career, did you have a mentor that helped you?
I didn't very early on, but I developed a relationship later on at my first job. And that is actually something that I highly recommend to anyone as they begin their career, is aligning yourself with a mentor, someone that's a little bit more senior in their career down the path that can help guide you and also really be your advocate as you're navigating your career. That's something that I did at Whole Foods as well that really helps me get the position I'm in now.
Okay. Okay. If you do it over, you redo your high school years,
Yes.
are there anything you would change?
I don't think so. Again, I think the only thing I would change was the amount of pressure I was putting on myself. I was always a kid that would go to sleep by 10 p.m. So that wasn't a struggle for me with getting enough sleep, but I know that is something that a lot of my friends would stay really up late. So I think for me, I just put a lot of pressure on myself. And even at this age, I can still remember that sort of pressure that I felt, and I don't like that feeling. So I don't know, I would just go back and tell myself to just to take a chill pill, to calm down. Like, this is just the beginning of your very long life. Like, don't put all of the pressure here. There's more time to explore and do things. And I think, again, it's the finding success in that moment there, and making sure that it wasn't just, I need to make this grade, I need to get this GPA, I need to get this. It's more, am I learning along this journey? Like, what am I doing that I like, and how can I continue to do it? It's hard to do that to know that in high school, but that's what I would change. It's just the amount of pressure I was putting on myself. I'd say I'm where I am now because of it, but I think I could easily be here without that sort of pressure back then as well.
Okay. Okay, good, good. Question from Ruth is, when you were in college, do you use student loans?
Good question, Ruth. In college, I did not. I was fortunate that my dad helped me pay for my college, so I did not take out student loans.
Okay. Yeah, so a lot of being parents, right? So a lot of Chinese parents actually have the pressure is
Yes.
that always pay for children's student loans and children pay for children's education, right? So Chinese always highly values education.
Mm-hmm.
Matter of fact, I have some Jewish friends, right? The Jews are very much similar way. It's very similar, and even parents are, we don't have much money that they still pay for their children's college.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's very fortunate. There is advantage born to be Chinese children.
Yeah. Yeah.
Certainly disadvantage come with it as well.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. So now you are a, I guess, American-born Chinese, right? Are you?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Okay. So talk about some of the, I guess, being associated with Chinese or Asian that when you grow up in high school, college, or even in your career, are there any disadvantages or even advantages that you have noticed?
I think I was really fortunate in the time that I grew up where I didn't really feel the negative effects of being Asian. I think thinking back, I honestly didn't think there was much difference in how I was living versus somebody else. But um, digging deeper now, I think there's always those nuances, like we're the model minority and certain things about how me just blending into the background was what I wanted to do versus speaking my mind, or raising my hand to say something or a thought that I had. I always thought, well, I should let other people go first. I think that has been a hindrance on me, especially early in my career, where the expectation is that I'm involved in the brainstorming and bringing ideas, and I would just sit back quietly, but in my mind I would have something. And so now I'm like, oh, why didn't you speak up? Like what you say matters. It's important. Like you shouldn't just let everybody else go in front of you. That I think was a negative fact of feeling like I needed to be the good Asian that just sits and does what they're supposed to, and follows the rules. I think that was sort of something that carried with me in terms of how I approached being present in work also. I think having the role I have now gives me sort of the title, and I feel in myself the authority to be able to speak with that confidence, but that came with time. And I think, yeah, it's something that I'll continue to encourage my daughters to do, is just, as you said, have their own opinions, feel confident in their thoughts and being able to express those.
Wonderful. Yeah. So the Chinese has the old saying, as in Bible, right? Silence is golden.
Mm-hmm.
So that's that's another thing that is in Chinese cultural tradition, and also the Hebrew tradition, Jewish tradition. Those are common, but now it's a looked upon as not such a good thing in the American culture, right? You have
Mm-hmm.
to speak your mind and
Mm-hmm.
have to be confident, and that's great. That's great. Now, when you are working and when you are in college, obviously you met people with from all over the world, all different background that expose you to a much greater diversity that you probably have experienced in Plano East.
Yes. Yes.
And how easy you find yourself to really blend into this kind of environment, and were you embraced into this kind of environment? Did you have challenges?
In college, I think I mean, going to college in itself is a challenge, where if you're moving away from home because you're really by yourself, living in a dorm room with who I was living with as a complete stranger. So that was the biggest challenge. I think for me, I joined an Asian Christian fellowship. And so having sort of the Asian community was actually very comforting to me. So I surrounded myself with people that were very similar backgrounds. I think as I continued on, I moved outside of an Asian church when we moved to Austin, and having that sort of diverse fellowship in age range and not being just all Asians, has helped me see God in a different light and understand that he's bigger than just my Asian Chinese community.
Yeah, excellent. Yeah, so many of my friends, their children are in college now. Now when they come back, when I meet them, I ask them a similar question. Many of the children I heard saying exactly the answer as you, is that once they left home, if they find a Asian fellowship, Asian church, gives them almost a second home feeling. So help them to adopt into the new environment quicker, so that they can quickly bond with people with a similar cultural background, easier to understand each other. They don't feel as lonely and as isolated, right? So then you can gradually open up your inner circle, and then blend in much quicker.
Yeah, it definitely was. Yeah, it helps with the transition, very much so.
Okay. All right. Last question. Any last question? We have 1 minute left.
Any questions? Anybody? Ning has asked a lot of good questions. Anybody else?
And don't close the door.
Okay, did you start dating in college, and how do you handle school, dating, and church activities? Oh, good question. So I did not start dating until I was in college, and so like my senior year. And so how did I handle school, dating, and church activities? It just becomes priorities, like what's important to you. And for me, I was able to manage all of it, in terms of I didn't start dating until I was in like a senior in college, and so it was the schoolwork wasn't as heavy, and so the need to be able to make balance wasn't as hard, but I was able to sort of make it all work. Does that answer the question?